Southeast Connecticut Community Center of the Blind presents Lunch and Learn with the Helen Keller National Center. Human Guide Training with Christine Telford and Jenna Rydl. Funded by Lavelle Fund for the Blind.
So, hi, my name is Christine Telford and I'm from the Helen Keller National Center. You'll need to be louder and be told. Okay, yeah. I will be louder. Okay.
Bring the New York. Let's go.
Oh God, bring the New York. I don't know about that. It's been a while. So my name is Christine Telford and I am from the Helen Keller National Center. I am the Regional Service Coordinator for the New England area. So a lot of you are familiar faces, so I won't go over what HKNC is again and again and again and torture you guys, I promise. We do have to kind of go over who we are in the beginning though. I do want to warn everyone, there is a pitcher of water in the back. Do not touch that or drink out of it yet. That's part of an activity. So that is not used for anyone to.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, actually, I've been using it to water plants. So we don't want to actually drink out of that. Stick to the bottles of water in the water fountain, the water station, please. So I am a certified orientation and mobility specialist, which means I teach people who are low vision, blind, and deafblind how to travel independently in their environments. Under that preview of certification, we teach people how to properly administer Human Guide, which sounds really medical, and that is actually my background, is kind of like the medical aspect. In previous presentations, we've talked about that, right? The difference between cultural and medical. So you're going to see a little bit of that here. If anything, ask questions. Feel free to jump in and ask us any question. Sometimes we'll be answering that question in the next slide, but and sometimes we won't be. So I encourage you guys to raise your hand, identify who you are before you speak, please. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a fake name. And I don't know if you guys want to be called Sally, but I will. Okay. My co-presenter is Jenna Rydl, who's herself now.
Hi guys, I'm sneaking up from behind some of these people. My name is Jenna Rydl. I am a certified American Sign Language interpreter as well as a certified orientation and mobility specialist like Christine. I'm from the South. I grew up in Florida, went to school and worked in Texas, and then moved up here a year ago because Christine convinced me it was a good idea. But I brought some of the heat with me, I think.
Why, thank you, I think.
So I work under Christine, but also for Helen Keller National Center, and I work through all 6 New England states, working through Helen Keller National Center, primarily with people who are deaf, blind, low vision, and hard of hearing, some sort of combination, teaching them to get around in their local environments, their workplace, use paratransit, introduce them to a cane, and all that jazz. I will have my card up here if you have questions for me later, or if you know somebody who's a friend, who has a mom, who maybe you think needs some help, and you want me to check on them and make sure that they're okay. I'm happy to pass along my information for that. We've also got Christine's contact information up here on the board. She's really good at answering emails and phone calls, so
I don't know about that actually.
Everybody on the planet emails her, but if you need to get in contact with one of us, we're happy to talk to you. We're happy to consult with you, whether we provide direct services or not. We're happy to help out however we can.
Yeah. So Christine speaking, this PowerPoint will be sent out to everyone that attends later on. I'm going to give it to Renee and Renee will send it out to everyone. But any visual information, we will be providing visual descriptions as we go. The beginning of our session together is going to be an overview of vision loss, blindness, some of those components that take into effect when you're providing Human Guide. Then we're going to move into like respectful communications with people and how do you guide someone and in various environments. So this is a little bit more of a lecture time. I'm thinking it's going to take like an hour to an hour and a half. So as I said before, I'm the regional service coordinator or the regional representative for Helen Keller National Center. I live in New Hampshire, but our base of operations is in New York, Long Island. So we work solely with people who have a dual sensory loss. So if you're both deaf and blind or hard of hearing and low vision, that's when my services kick in. My role is I'm a lifelong point of contact, or whoever's in my position is the lifelong point of contact. So you don't have to have an open BESB case to interact with me. You don't have to have an open social working case with anyone. You can interact with me anytime you want. I will always answer the phone. I prefer text messages. I'm just letting you guys know that. My generation. But I'll always answer the phone. I will always help with any scenario, housing, benefits counseling, anything that you need. Even though I don't always have the answer, I can always find someone that has the answer. That's kind of my mantra and my motto is I'm not an expert on everything, but I happen to know a lot of other experts. So I'm going to connect you to those people and support you through the process. Life happens, even if you have an open case with your state agency or not, right? So that's something that HKNC, because we're federally funded, that's one of our major initiatives, one of our major points of existing is to make sure that the deafblind community is supported throughout their life, not just during like a small chunk of it when they're receiving vocational rehabilitation services. So that's my mantra about what my role is. It says a bunch of other stuff in it too. So lifelong point of contact. We work with the transition age to older adults. And we're here for information and referral to consumers, people who are deafblind, their family members, anyone really. I get the most random phone calls. So I'll help with anything that you need help with. We facilitate the application process to the Helen Keller National Center on Long Island. That's a big bulk of my time is someone who's deafblind comes to me and says, I can't read Braille. I have no technology experience. I can't hear what the hearing aids I'm using right now for some reason. I am struggling getting around on my own. I have no transportation options. That's when they're going to sit with me and we're going to fill out a Helen Keller National Center application. And most likely, if they're open to it, they're going to go to New York for a few months. That training center is kind of like the Carroll Center. You guys know about the Carroll Center, right? Majority of you seem familiar. It's a residential program, which is typically what people who are blind and low vision utilize residential programs for rehabilitation. You're having classes Monday through Friday, every single day from like 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock, and you're learning skills. You're learning how to use your skills back home. You're learning to cook, clean, take care of your household independently. There have been many, many times where I've gotten phone calls from nursing homes that a deafblind person was put in a nursing home at the age of 45. Sorry, I get a little emotional about that one. I don't like hearing those things. So basically, I kick in usually when that happens to pull a team of people together to prevent that from happening. People have the right to live in the communities of their choice. And that's Helen Keller National Center. We really, really emphasize that. We want to make sure that people aren't just like put away, you know, that people can take care of themselves, take care of their families, and maintain their humanity in a lot of ways. Yes, I have Ilana.
What is the transition age that you use?
Oh, so transition really depends on the state, I've noticed.
You're talking about
usually-
school transition.
Yeah, I know. Usually like
Yeah.
16 is when I start kicking in, but we have gone as early as 14. If they're gonna be going to the center, they have to be 16 or older. But if they want community-based services, depending on the state, I might start at 14. Yes.
Martina, is there grants out there for us to come to your school and to, you know, like the Carroll Center, like this be paid for
Yes.
me, and I'm sure they pay for a lot of other folks here, for us to go there and stay, like, you
Yes.
know, for.
So Martina, yes, our center for people who have a dual sensory loss, both deaf and blind or hard of hearing and blind, just making that clear. Yes, BESB usually or BRS will assist someone to go to the center. We also do have a grant. That grant is run through our own fundraising, and is given out once a year, usually one region gets one grant.
So you have to be deaf and blind then?
Yes.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah. Okay, and then Kevin?
Yes, Kevin, you just started, you're already giving me things to think about I've never thought about before. So one of the challenges I know for people who are sightless, and I've only had this happen a couple of times in my life, but when a blind individual, it could be a multiply disabled person, blind and deaf, whatever. When you move from one state to another, you're moving from agency to agency.
Yes.
And that transition can be, if you'll forgive the expression, hell.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's maybe part of the bridge that you can help provide for people.
Yes. So actually, I had someone from New Hampshire recently moved to North Carolina. So my representative in North Carolina is helping him fill out his application right now so that he can start up services in the vocational rehabilitation world. I forgot what the agency's called in North Carolina, so forgive me, but she knows them. She knows how to help him get services down there. So yes, we are nationwide network. And just because you're not deafblind doesn't mean that I won't help you. So like, even if you're blind or low vision and you're moving to another state, I have people call me all the time and I will help, I'll help explain where to go to get services and like who to call and follow up with people because we are nationwide.
That's great.
Yeah. And also, just so you know, if you're under vocational rehabilitation, that is nationwide also. So you can have your case open in 2 states.
Oh, wow.
So you can go to college in Massachusetts, but you have a case open in Massachusetts, because that's where you are most of the time, but you'll have your lead agency in like Iowa. And they should be working together. A lot of states don't want to do that. Because then they're like cutting into their federal kickbacks. It's complicated. A lot of states don't like doing that, but if that ever happens to a family member of yours and there's resistance about that, like give me a call. I like yelling at people. It's fun.
With the transition for like staff and how to
Yeah.
transition.
So another component too is we do work with people with multiple disabilities and people who are transitioning into nursing homes. Let's say someone's deafblind and it is appropriate for them to go into a nursing home. It is their choice. They want to go into a nursing home. We will help train staff to work with them. We recently did that in northern Massachusetts, maybe 2 years ago. We also will help, like actually next week or 2 weeks in southern Connecticut, I'm going to be helping a group home help someone who's deafblind transition into this new group home for them and train their staff. So we do a lot of cross training. As you guys probably have noticed, there's less and less volunteers. There's less and less like certified staff or trained staff to work in human services. It's been an ongoing trend for the past like 10 to 15 years. Everyone just decided to ignore it for some reason. And it got worse after COVID. With the mass retirement that occurred during COVID. A lot of people just were like, out, I'm retiring. Peace out, guys. I don't want to work anymore in this kind of environment. So that has left significant gaps in our human services field. So that's where HKNC has taken on the initiative to train people to work with people who are deafblind. And usually if we're doing trainings for someone who's deafblind, it does trickle into low vision and blind a lot too. Hence why we are qualified to come here and talk about low vision, blind, and human guide. So we'll move on because that took longer than I thought.
Here we go.
And then I have a map up here of our 10 regions, just so everyone is aware of like where we're located. So, our headquarters is located in New York, Long Island, like I said. I'm located in New Hampshire, and we're known as Region 1 because we live with number 1. They hate it when I do that. Yes. Region 2 is gonna be New Jersey and New York, which is a very large geographic area for one person to cover. Okay, I know I have 6 states, but I envy. Or I do not envy the regional rep over there. But we have 10 total regional regions located across the United States. And it covers the islands of Guam, Alaska, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands too, all of our territories.
And of course, Hawaii.
Oh yeah, Hawaii too, right? I guess they count. Oh, and the Samoas too. Oh, yes.
Ilana, would you mind just going over the different areas? So, I mean, just.
I feel like I'm at geography right now.
What they are,
Which-
everyone can see that.
Oh, yes, sorry, I apologize. So, region 2, like I said, is New York and New Jersey, and then region 3 is gonna be. Oh, I don't know what.
So maybe we can just say, we start at 1 in the top northeast and then going down the east coast, and we've got 1 through 4A and 4B. So it's usually in a group of like 4 or 5 states. It's really, I don't know the names of all the states off the top of my head. But
we kind of try to keep them geographically clustered together. So like Florida's gonna be with Atlanta, Georgia, sorry, not Atlanta, Georgia, Alabama. And then the Carolinas are together. We have North and South Carolinas clustered together in one.
let me look. Okay, so 1 New England, 2 New York, 3 looks like it is the Virginias.
That's what I know.
Delaware, Delaware, Maryland, and then we've got 4B, just because 4 was way too large, it was a quarter of the US. And that is North and South Carolina, Kentucky, and Tennessee. 4A, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. 5, we're gonna head back up towards the Great Lakes. We've got Michigan, Indiana, Iowa. Thank you, Ohio. I'm running out of states that I know. And Wisconsin. Yes. And then 6 is massive because it includes all of Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas and Oklahoma and New Mexico.
7 is the Great Plains. It's our smallest one for some reason. Y'all complain about it. You tell her that she's lazy. I'm joking. That's only 4 states, and that's the Great Plains put together. Which don't ask me what those are. I think it's like
Missouri, Iowa.
There we go. See, I failed.
And Nebraska.
Okay, thank you. 8's a little weird. This is the only one that has some like split geography, but I believe that covers Colorado.
That's Colorado. These are the Dakotas.
We got the Dakotas, Colorado, Nevada,
Arizona.
oh, Arizona.
Utah.
Utah. Okay.
And then 9, California, and what is this?
Nevada.
Part of Nevada.
Yeah.
10 is the Pacific Northwest. So everywhere where it's really rainy and cold all the time. And Alaska, she also covers Alaska. I think she lives in Washington.
There's those at Oregon.
Oh, she does. She lives in Oregon. She's even farther from Alaska, but she still covers Alaska. And I think Hawaii is part of
California's jurisdiction.
Region 9. And so each of these regions has its own regional representative that's kind of in charge of coordinating services, being the contact person for everybody within their little group. But sometimes we get people that, hey, I've got a cousin in Iowa, can you help? And they're here, and so they'll call Christine, and so then Christine connects them with the regional rep for Iowa.
So, is that good? Everyone satisfied with our geography test? I'm gonna test you afterwards. Okay. I think it's your turn now. I think so. Okay.
All right, this is Jenna. We're gonna go into the types of vision loss. Now, different people classify types of vision loss in a bunch of different ways. It depends on who you're talking to, whether it's a doctor with a certain specialty, or it can even depend on what age range the professional is working with, because different age ranges see different amounts of certain diagnoses. There are certain diagnoses that are really common in kids that, you know, you rarely see a child with macular degeneration. That's not a super common diagnosis that you'll see. Whereas with adults, that's much more common. So we're gonna classify it as central vision loss, which is right in the middle. If you're looking straight ahead and had two spots directly where you're looking, that's your central vision loss. Then there's peripheral vision loss, which is everything on the edges. Goes up top to the side, down to the bottom. And there's also something called a CVI. CVI has a couple different words that people use when they're using a really long term. It's a cerebral visual impairment or cortical visual impairment. And that's when it's not necessarily the eyeballs themselves that are not doing what they're trying to be doing. It's when the brain is not understanding. So maybe it's somebody who has all of the necessary parts in their eyes have developed, they are strong, they're taking in visual information, but when the brain is trying to understand the information, the brain can't make sense of it. There's some breakdown somewhere where your eyes are saying, hey, look, I am looking at a pair of glasses, but the brain can't make sense of the message. So they have trouble seeing, but it's not their eyes. It's more to do with the passageways and the connections, the hallways in their brain. It's important to understand that there are different types of vision loss, that there are different statuses. The way that somebody is today might not be the same tomorrow. There are some people whose vision fluctuates from day to day, from moment to moment. People who have vision loss related to diabetes, their vision may be related to their blood sugar. Are they hungry? Have they had something to eat? There are people whose vision gets worse throughout the day because their eyes are tired from looking at everything all the time and working so hard. So know that just because you see someone in one moment with one label or diagnosis, the realities of what they see and what they are comfortable with may change. So the goal is to ensure access to their environment and information. We're going to start with the definition of legal blindness. Okay, legal blindness is when you have a central visual acuity. Acuity is how clearly you see. Is it fuzzy or is it not? If a camera or a picture is out of focus, that would mean it's something has poor acuity. We use that to describe how clearly our eyes are able to look at information. Yes.
Sorry, I messed up the slide.
Next.
Why is it not working now?
I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna wait.
Present, there we go. My apologies, we're just quickly going through the slides again. There was something on it incorrect.
Of everything that we just said. Geography lesson.
Okay, there we go. We're back to the right slide.
Legal blindness has to do with the number on your doctor's chart. If you've seen the doctor's chart with all of the letters and they go down really, really tiny. And there are numbers on either side of those rows. It's usually 20 over some number. If that number, after your eye is as corrected as they can get it, after you're wearing your glasses, after you have your contacts in, if that number is different than 20 over 200, if that 200 number if that bottom number is 200 or larger, qualifies as legal blindness. Or if maybe you've got really good central vision and it's perfectly clear and you've got 20 over 100, but your visual field, so the sides of your vision are affected. If you have less than 20 degrees, if you remember math class, we've already done geography. Might as well move on to math. If you have a field of 20 degrees or less, so if you think of a protractor or something, maybe don't do this where you're sitting, you might knock somebody's eye out. But I'll have someone take and put their fingers out to the side and wiggle them. Can you see the fingers at the edges? You bring it all the way in 20 degrees is very narrow. That means there's nothing to your left, nothing to your right, very little if anything above, very little if anything below. If what you can see out of is 20 degrees or less, you also qualify for legal blindness, even if that picture in the middle is beautiful, pristine. So either one of those things can qualify somebody to be labeled as legally blind. On the screen, we have some pictures that depict peripheral vision loss. It's a square that is mostly black, but in the very center, you can almost see the edge of a fire hydrant. Kind of fuzzy, it's real tiny, it's just one of the little knobs on the side. You can't see the whole fire hydrant. On the other corner of the screen, what is this? Right-hand corner of the screen, we have a very, very fuzzy picture of what appears to be a person on a bike who may or may not be waving at us, but it's very, very out of focus. You can't see what she looks like. You can't, I think she's wearing something that's blue. I don't know if it's a dress or shorts. Very little detail is involved in this image, and this is an example of what 2200 vision looks like. Yes, Kevin.
Just clarification on that, 20 degrees, because that is such a small space. It's not 20 degrees left, right, up, there. In other words, 20 degrees of center, you're saying 20 degrees total.
Total.
Wow, because that's not much.
It is
Yeah.
not much.
So what happens sometimes with people with various conditions like retinitis pigmentosa or anything else that causes tunnel vision is sometimes there are peripheral islands that occur. So instead of having that pinhole vision, which is what it's typically described as, sometimes it's pinhole vision, but another dot of vision and another dot of vision. And that those are considered peripheral islands. Those usually do, depending on the condition, will go away. But it also causes a lot of like confusion in your vision too. And sometimes they come and go. It depends on the person.
Of course, Kevin, right?
Yes,
I'm learning one person's name.
I should have said it, I forgot.
That's okay.
It's okay. Next time I'm calling you Sally.
Okay.
Oh, yes, another question. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you. Your name first, please. Sandra.
So,
I'm gonna call you Neil because of your shirt, so Sandra's better fit.
yeah, right, so I also wanted to say that oftentimes in the public, the people that are totally blind like me, you know, we aren't called legally blind, we're just blind. But we are legally blind because we do fit the definition.
Correct. And the reason that we have a definition of legal blindness, it's used a lot with students who are getting of the age where they want to drive. And it would probably not be a great idea for the rest of the drivers if they were to drive. And also it serves as a good cutoff for states when they're providing services, because it's really hard. Everybody's vision behaves slightly differently, even to people who have had the same diagnosis the exact same amount of time, their vision may be different. And so how does a state, how does a hospital, how does a community service look at someone and say, okay, this person's blind, but this person's not? So they had to make a line somewhere. This allowed the states, the government to say, okay, now if you fall under this criteria, and there are other possibilities as well to be added in there. But that was the first legal aspect that was defined so that people could receive services, funding from states, services from states, training, and all that jazz. Any other questions before I move on to blind spots? Nope, okay. So scotomas, that's the fancy word for a blind spot. That is when you have a spot that is totally missing or it's super blurry. That is medically called a scotoma. Sometimes if it's a really small dot, your brain will ignore it like it's not there. The more of them that pop up, the larger that they are, your brain can't compensate for all of the missing information. If you can see most of the chair, your brain assumes the rest of the chair is there. But if you can only see a quarter of the chair, your brain's not really sure what it's seeing anymore. So people, especially when they're starting out, when their scotomas, their blind spots are forming, they may not really be aware that they have them until someone says, hey, you know, you've been looking for something that's been in that corner this whole time. And they just haven't been able to see it, that corner of their desk. Or, hey, you keep bumping this particular object. It's been in the same place in the house for years. You keep hitting it. Well, let's look at why that is. And then they typically will go to an eye doctor when they start bumping into more things or missing other things. But usually in the beginning, people don't even realize they have them because their brain just says, I've got enough information. We'll just call it good. So your central vision, again, your field of vision is usually about 180 degrees. That's from one arm, my right arm, all the way straight out from my body to the side, my left arm straight out to the side. It's about 180 degrees, like a protractor. Only about 3 degrees of this is central vision. That's a teeny tiny little bit in the middle. Very, very small. That's maybe you're looking through a straw. Probably less than looking through a straw. It's a very frustrating exercise. I'll tell you, trying to look through a straw. I had a friend growing up who had something called Leber's congenital amaurosis. And she described her vision as looking through a straw. And so I tried it. And it made me very dizzy. And I was like, this is not an enjoyable experience for me. Your central vision, it allows people to see shapes, colors, details. It's what we use to read and drive, see pictures, see facial expressions, because typically when we look somebody in the face, we look directly at their face. You might have met a few people who, when you're talking to them, they kind of turn to the side. But most of the time, when sighted people are interacting with each other, this is what we teach babies. Hey, look me in the face when I'm talking to you. So you're using your central vision. It's right in the middle. Squarely is where the face is. Acuity, like I talked about, that's how we measure how clear your vision is, particularly your central vision. Everybody's vision is not super duper clear all the way to the edges. At least mine is not. So if that's a problem, I should get that checked. But 20/20 vision is what we call, quote unquote, normal vision. That is 20/20. That is what's considered the average vision. That's like the middle of the chart. So most people who are low vision, that bottom number starts to grow because the world gets fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier, which affects, of course, their ability to read, ability to drive, ability to see prices at the grocery store, which is super frustrating, or reading ingredients, sometimes recipes, all of that, what our central vision affects. Some examples of central vision loss. On the screen, I have a picture of that depicts macular degeneration. This is advanced macular degeneration, where the scotoma, the blind spot, is actually rather large, taking up most of the picture. That is not how macular degeneration begins. It begins very, very small and advances over time. Macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in people who are 55 and older here in the US. It is a progressive condition. It does not usually result in total blindness. It is very rare that someone becomes totally blind through macular degeneration. Not impossible, but usually what macular degeneration does is it affects the central vision and it kind of grows out from the center.
Question.
Yes.
I know several people who have this, and a lot of them have gotten shots. What do the shots do?
Oh boy. So
Not a good question.
it is a good question because a lot of people are curious about it. I personally get a little bit squeamish at the thought of getting a shot. I know people who have done it and they talk to me about it, and I try very hard not to throw up. But
That would be unprofessional.
it would be a little unprofessional, but also they were talking about, oh yeah, the doctor took and put a needle in my eye. I was like, oh, okay. Did it work? So. Remind me of your name again.
Jane,
Jane. So. The shots that I know of, and I'm not an expert in this because I'm not giving anybody shots in their eyeballs. I'm not qualified for that. No, thank you. I'm not like to be qualified for that. They were vitamin shots to try and preserve the cells that are affected by macular degeneration.
There are all different kinds of shots
Yeah.
that have happened over the past like 20 years. It really depends on who you were talking to and at what time frame you were talking to them. Because there were shots that were trying to just restore the macula too at one point by directly putting vitamins in them. There were other ones, I think there was something with like cuttlefish at one point too, that they were doing stem cell things. I mean, it really depends on the trial that the person was in. I would recommend asking your friend a little bit more to learn more directly from them about what the shots were.
Because macular degeneration is not the only diagnosis that I know of where people have gone in
Yes.
to get shots. I've known
Yeah.
people that have Usher syndrome that have
Mhm.
gone in to get shots. I know people, so it may be dependent upon their.
Yeah.
If the doctor says, hey, your condition specifically, this might help.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw a different hand. Yes, ma'am.
That's what I have.
Barbara.
And I'm Barbara, yeah.
You're Barbara.
My understanding with macular degeneration, there is fluid leaking out the back and the shots kind of stop that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is one of the shots, yes.
Yeah.
And these are medicines. I don't think any of them that I get are vitamins.
have you ever had them, Barbara?
I get them.
You do get the shots,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
You're very brave.
Since 2017.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's supposed to slow it down.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Margaret, I've had macular now for 30 years.
Yes.
So in the 90s, they used to take a picture and go behind the screen and develop it like they did in the Wizard of Oz. And when I had a bleed in the 90s, I actually had laser treatment
Yep.
to get rid of the bleed. So that ruined that eye. You know?
Yeah.
So then now, and the other eye was perfectly fine. And now I've had retina detachment, I've had whatever. And so I've been told that wet and dry, so in one eye. So therefore, one is to get rid of the bleeding.
Hmm.
And the other is a new one that you have to have twice quickly and forget for a while, twice quickly, whatever. It's supposed to be for the dry.
Yes.
So there's all kinds, like what you said,
Mhm.
Yes.
but they've come a long way from the developing of the picture behind the screen.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
There are different medicines now that they do not have to put the needle into your eye
Yeah.
to try, and there are other steps that sometimes they will take.
But just to be clear, we're not part of the medical restoration
Right.
process. We're part of the rehab process. So our services kind of kick in after the medical stuff isn't working anymore. So we're just kind of going over the medical diagnoses and like etiologies so that when we put you under simulations, you know what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yes, Barbara.
Hi, I just want to add that they numb your eyes. It's like-
Yes.
Yes.
South is horrible.
Yeah, no.
Very numb.
That makes us feel better. Thank you.
She said that they do numb your eyes. They don't just
Oh,
come
right,
at you
right.
with a needle and chase you down. No, they numb you up. You're good.
Well,
Yes.
it would help so, because I haven't heard of that many dead doctors.
Okay, we're gonna move on to optic atrophy. So,
You want to do it?
yeah, I'll do it. So it's a loss of central vision that can result in peripheral loss too. So we have our optic nerve that connects to the back of our eye, and that's when optic atrophy is happening. The muscle, everything isn't working. It's not functioning anymore. The vision tends to fluctuate from day to day. So again, you could be working with someone providing guiding services with them on Monday, and they're like, I don't even need to hold on to your arm. I'm just gonna follow you. And then maybe on Wednesday, they're like, oh, I need to hold on to your arm. Because it just depends on them. It's blurred vision, there's color blindness, there's night blindness, there's sensitivity to light. So even that person, maybe during the day, they're like, just walk in front of me, we're good, I'll use my cane. And then maybe later on at night, when you're at a restaurant, they need you to actually describe what's in the room. And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about how that impacts you as a human guide and the services that you're providing with people.
Yes, sir.
Jim, and you said it fluctuates.
Mhm.
And you included color blindness.
Yeah.
I've always heard it, once you're colorblind, you're always colorblind, and once you're diagnosed as not being colorblind, you never will be colorblind.
So it's called contrast sensitivity. And color blindness is really contrast sensitivity. So if you're taking something that's like a piece of, like, let's say you're putting your phone down and your phone is black and you put it on a table that's black, you're not gonna see it. That's considered color blindness too. So it really just depends. In that example, it could also depend on lighting. It could depend on fluctuation of the person. It might actually be how the brain is just interpreting the color. They may maybe slowly, let's say with Usher syndrome and retinitis pigmentosa, like your contrast sensitivity starts to get affected, which we'll go over more when we talk about peripheral losses. You might not be able to tell the difference between black and blue anymore, or red and brown. And it happens slowly. So what I think you heard was a myth, and we'll go over that a little bit too. There are a lot of myths about vision out there. So central vision loss and possible accommodations. So when we're working with people and we are the human guides, we're going to be thinking about the whole person and how we can accommodate them. And that's really, really important. Now, everyone's different and everyone has their own level of self-advocacy. And sometimes we're working with people who are 16 or maybe 14. And they don't know how to advocate for themselves yet. So you have to know what kind of questions to ask them because they're not thinking about it yet. They haven't been exposed to other people. They don't have a community center like this where there's dialogues happening, right? So it's important that, yes, like Barbara, you know exactly what you need, but maybe the person next to you doesn't know what they need yet. So by leading by example is probably the best way to really inspire people to learn more about themselves. And that's what your community does really well, right? So these accommodations, reducing glare. How many times have you sat in a room and you have a vision loss and there's glare coming from the window and it hurts your eyes? Even without a vision loss, it hurts your eyes, right? It makes you uncomfortable. So that's an accommodation, maybe reducing the light glare. It also depends on where you go. How many of you been to Hollister, the store, the clothing store in the mall years ago? I see Renee is raising her hand. I don't know about you. I have a story for you guys. I think you'll enjoy it. I don't know if I've told this group this story, but hopefully you guys don't remember it. I was going to the mall with one of my friends, and she is legally blind. She's low vision. She uses a cane. She really wanted to go to Hollister, but she can't go to Hollister because the lighting, there wasn't enough lighting for her. You know, so she took me with her to be her human guide, to describe what the clothes looked like, to let her know what was in that environment. And the store asked us to leave.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, mind you, I'm like 21 and she's like 19. And we did not know what to do. We were really young when it happened. And she and I called up the headquarters of Hollister. And I like to say that this is the reason that they have better lighting in Hollister now. I don't know if it's true or not, but we did give them an environmental analysis of Hollister and sent it into headquarters. Because there were people like, you can trip in there. It was very dark in there. So that's...
If you've ever been in a dive bar or in a dark restaurant where you can't help but hit every single table in the, even though you like feel in front of you and like there's nothing there, as soon as you take a step, something reaches out and grabs you. Or the restaurant menus that are laminated and they reflect the light perfectly so that you can't read it. Things like that.
So those are the barriers to an environment. And we're here as human guides, we're like walking accommodation machines. as I like to say. We're here to make sure everyone has access. And it really depends like on the person and their preferences and what they want and what they need from us. So reducing glare could help, or maybe increasing lighting can help. It depends on the environment, it depends on the person, it depends on the visual condition. Increased magnification, if we're working with someone at a restaurant, maybe they have like a Ruby, or they have a portable CCTV that they bring with them to actually read the menus, or a
phone,
magnifier.
Take a picture of it and zoom in.
Yeah, or like Jenna just said, take a picture, or they're zooming in to read the menu themselves. Or they might ask us to assist with reading the menu. And we'll go over that in our breakout sessions. We're gonna have a fake restaurant and Renee's gonna be the rude waiter along with Tammy. Okay. Another thing that we're gonna talk about is voice output and braille like access and input. So, you know, if you have a braille display, that's an accommodation, right? Along with those portable CCTVs, contrasting colors. So not everyone thinks about this, but if you look at me and Jenna, we're wearing all black essentially because it's easier on the eyes.
Because we are pale.
Yeah.
If we had a different skin tone, we would need to wear a different color so that our hands contrasted with our clothing.
Yeah. So it really, this is from sign language because we work with deafblind people. So like it's easier for them to see a sign. But also I've noticed when I worked as an O&M in Florida with people who were low vision and blind, they actually liked it too. Because they had to look at me all the time when they were low vision to receive instruction. And they'd be like, if you wear prints, it kind of hurts my eyes. Right? And the fact that they are able and comfortable enough to tell me that, of course, I'm going to accommodate for what they prefer.
Yes.
So contrasting colors, backgrounds, placemats. I just gave the example, someone with contrast sensitivity over here. I think it was something you, sir, right? Jim, that, you know, your iPhone is black and maybe your table's a dark color. So you put your iPhone on the table and you lose it, right? You're like, where did I put it on the table? Or I put it on a chair and I can't find it. That's where I like to go, get a doily, right? Let's all channel our grandmas and get a doily. A nice white doily and put it down and voice put your phone on that doily, right? Utilize the contrasting colors.
Yes.
I love doilies.
Or paint your iPhone.
Oh, you could get a different color iPhone, pink, bright neon colors.
I helped somebody find one on Amazon. It was neon orange.
Oh, wow.
You could see it from space. But they actually forgot their phone on the floor and their flooring was dark. And so they were like, I can't see it. It doesn't matter which way it lands. I can't see it. So we got a glow in the dark, like bright case. And then they could find it.
Okay, so more accommodations with someone who has a central vision loss. We're not going to go over what tracking is in tactile sign language and close vision sign language. Maybe in the future, if we have time, our time is starting to run out. I can go over those accommodations with you. I'd say about 50% of you have seen me give those instructions about that, right, Kevin?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, to disagree.
Yeah, I know he is. Yeah. And then human guide and orientation to a new environment, that is an accommodation. So when we are working as human guides, like I said, we're walking accommodations for people.
Do you want to go up there and I do that?
Retinitis pigmentosa. So RP or retinitis pigmentosa, it's relatively common. I don't know the percentage of how common it is offhand because I'm not a researcher, so I apologize. But it's a progressive condition and its symptoms include night blindness. That's usually when it starts for people start noticing that they have retinitis pigmentosa is in their like teens, mid-teens. I have met some people who are like 7, 8 years old when they've noticed it. It really just depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the type. And it depends on how your body reacts to things. maybe the person might be labeled as like clumsy or accident prone when they're younger, because they're like always bumping into something. Oh, Sally's in the room, she's gonna hit something, her shin is gonna hit the coffee table, her hip is gonna hit it, make sure to like move the glass of water out of the way, she's gonna spill it. These are really negative assumptions made about people, and they're really hurtful, especially in your teens, when you just want to like be like everybody else, right? It's a progressive peripheral vision loss. So we're talking about here is the side vision, the top vision, the bottom vision, nose down, that imaginary protractor that we were talking about starting to squeeze inward towards the central vision. It can eventually cause central vision loss also. And we were talking about the central vision is only 3% of the vision. So it can go into that and make it maybe 2% or 1%. The rate of progression varies from person to person. I know people who have RP that have a lot of vision left and they're 80. It really just depends. It depends on the person, depends on your body, depends on your environment. We don't really know the cause of it, right? We know it's like genetic. But there's all different kinds of factors that are involved with retinitis pigmentosa, and there's lots and lots of research on it. People with USH or Usher syndrome have RP, but not all people with RP have Usher syndrome. And that usually confuses a lot of people. So I'll meet someone who's deaf, that was born deaf, and they'll be like, my doctor said RP, that means I have USH. And I'm like, no. You have to have like the genetic markers to indicate that you have USH. Any questions? Okay. So in this slide, we do have a picture of like it's a square, it's black, and it's kind of representing peripheral loss. So in the very like middle of it, there are like two kids' faces that you can see in like a small circle. No, I can see. So glaucoma. Glaucoma is a peripheral field loss too. So typically it typically happens because of abnormal high pressure in the eye. It could be, closed angle glaucoma. It could be from tear duct issues. It could be genetics. It could be maybe you had diabetes and it started adding pressure to your eye too. It could be just from like a functional reason that something happened to your eye. It could be from trauma. There are people that get hit in the eye that then later on glaucoma happens. Because the eye goes into uveitis and swells. It could be temporary. It could be permanent. Again, it just depends on the person and the causation. Symptoms include patchy blind spots in the person's peripheral vision. But can also have blind spots in the person's central vision too, because it's kind of like crushing the structures within the eye because of the pressure. Advanced stages usually result in tunnel vision, and they can be treated with medicine. Do not ask me what kind of medicine. Just letting you guys know. I don't know offhand. I know that like several people in my family have had glaucoma, and it's controlled with medicine and controlled with eye drops. It is kind of common. High blood pressure can also cause glaucoma too. So the possible accommodations for restricted fields of vision, right? So those were just two examples of peripheral loss. We're not here to like be doctors and explain everything, but I just wanted to give you guys some ideas. So our possible accommodations as a human guide, when you're guiding someone, what kind of accommodations are we going to be doing for someone who has peripheral loss? So we're going to try to reduce glare and provide specific lighting. How many of you have heard of the OTT lamp or OTT light? I have a couple of hands up.
What?
They're task lights. They're called OTT, OTTLITE, OTT lights. Oh, they're awesome. You can get them at like Joann Fabrics, Michaels. They're kind of pricey for a lamp, but they're used specifically for task lighting. So like if you want to learn how to sew, but you're having difficulty seeing the needle, you might want to have an art lamp.
It's like, I do an old lady craft. I do some embroidery, and there are certain lamps that sit on your desk or sit on.
Lady craft.
That was not wrong. You should not be saying that.
So I do embroidery, and there are lamps that, they have the bendy necks, and that are really, really bright, so I can center it over my embroidery, because if I have a table light, it's hard to see as well, the light's not strong enough. So there are lights that you can use, like the Ott light, spelled like odd, but with T's, Ott light.
There are a couple of other brands.
You can touch it.
Yeah, and it says it's not hot
Just
either.
touch it and it
Yeah.
gets higher and lower.
Yeah, so like you just touching it will bring the lighting of the wattage up, but it also doesn't get hot where you hurt your hand. And they have like kind of like medical filters on them too. So some of them have like no blue light, and it's easier to look at. They're all different kinds. I used to purchase these items as a VR counselor for my consumers all the time. They just made their lives better. So I would get it for them. It's kind of how that's supposed to work. So also providing high contrast and avoiding visual clutter. So when you have a peripheral, like peripheral loss, when you're only able to see out of your central vision, it becomes very disorienting. So like you'll be walking and you know a curb is about to happen, right? Because you saw the curb from a couple of feet away. But if you're not using your cane and you're just walking, that curb's gonna sneak up on you. And I see some of you shaking your heads like, yeah, I've had that experience, right? And that's why we really encourage people, even though you can see a little bit, you really need to use your accommodations, which is like a white cane or a human guide, or different ways of getting around to ensure your safety. Allowing people time to adjust their eyes to new lighting is a big thing for people with peripheral losses too. So your pupils start getting affected. They're not constricting the way that they used to. You're very sensitive to light sensitivity is a huge thing for this population. So as a human guide, when I was younger and I had no training, I was just thrown into being a human guide for people. It was a lot of fun. Lots of bumps and bruises. And I didn't understand any of these components. When I was younger, I would be like, why does like Mr. Tom need to stop every time we walk into a building? And I was too shy to ask, right? Like I didn't understand, and I would get frustrated because we were on go. And he was like, we need to stop. And I'd be like, okay, So now with this knowledge, now I understand. I even ask people like, hey, when we're going from outside to indoors, do you need me to slow down? Do you need me to stop? Because again, people don't advocate for themselves the way that they should. So sometimes we have to ask and make sure they feel comfortable, because that's kind of our role as a human guide. So then allowing time for our eyes to adjust, right? Allowing time to visually and tactually locate things. Now here it says a speaker or a signer. So Kevin, you're right in front of me, so I'm picking on you, okay?
Okay, you too.
Yeah. So can you tell where I'm standing? Just by my voice?
Yeah, pretty well.
Okay, you point to me. Okay, perfect. So like, some people can't do that. And sometimes they just want to be able to go, oh, this is where Kevin is.
Right.
Right? So just giving people time, like letting them know what's in a room, but also allowing them to touch things or give them a moment to figure out what something is and where it's located in the room just brings back that power to people. Because there's a balance as a human guide where we take over sometimes. It's natural because you want to help, right? It's that helper mode, and I'm air quoting that. You always want to help people. But there's a very fine line between helping someone and oppressing them.
Can I just give a quick example?
Yes. What's your name?
This is several Jane.
Jane. Okay,
Several years ago, we were at a dinner at the Elks Club in New London. The center used to always go there for dinner. And I had a blind person, totally blind, who I volunteered for, who I took everywhere, drove here and there. And she was sitting at dinner one night with a blind couple. And I went over to the girl that I knew very well and put my hands on her shoulders and said, "Hi, it's Jane." The lady that was sitting in front of her, who was totally blind, was outraged that I did that.
Okay.
Totally outraged. She said, "You never do that to a blind person." So I didn't know what to say. I said,
Yeah,
well, I
okay.
know this girl, but I'm still
So
taken
Jane-
aback by that.
Jane, there's like a saying of like everybody's different. You
Yeah,
know, everyone's different. Everyone has their own interpretation of things.
yeah.
If you've never met someone before, yeah, like I wouldn't put your hand on them. I'd ask for
I
permission.
understand.
We're gonna talk about that, like how important it is to, when you're providing guiding services, you're already gonna be making contact with someone. But we need to talk about like what is a good touch, what's a bad touch, right? And where are people's personal boundaries? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. As for that rule of thumb, if you don't ever touch a blind person, it depends on how you did it. Did you like just grab her shoulders from behind her? Yeah. Did you gently on her shoulder and let her know who you were and identify yourself? Is that how you did it? Then you're absolutely fine, and that person just has to stay off their butt.
It might also depend on your relationship. with
Exactly,
them.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, a husband and wife may have a certain signal that,
Yeah,
I mean, there are certain signals that my parents use for like, hey, my one parent will signal to the other parent, I wanna leave. Like, if they're just in a public situation, this means, hey, let's go, let's wrap this up, we're out. So there may be
also,
certain.
it could speak culture too, like, I don't know who that person was, they could have had a really bad experience where maybe they were touched inappropriately.
Right.
So like, it kind of just depends, I made the comment, they have to stick up the butt, I didn't mean that, but like, it depends on the person, right, you gotta be open. But there is no like rule of thumb that you can't touch someone who's blind.
Okay.
Jane, I would take that as never approach that person in that way. No, but your friend, your husband, your sister, you may have, I mean, I've got things that I do with my sisters, with my friends, with my visually impaired friends that they're okay with me doing it because they know it's me and I know it's them. But if it were anybody else, that would not be cool.
Oh, yeah.
So there are certain things that you can figure out. Okay, this is what works for us. I absolutely respect you, stranger, your boundaries. I will never jump scare you, I promise.
Yeah. And then also, when we're looking at human guide and orientation, so we're gonna go over what orientation and mobility is in a little bit too, to give you guys at least some background on that. Which I'm just gonna say, like, PT, you're gonna love us. You definitely should work with us more often.
Yeah.
So, but human guide, like, when we are guiding someone in a new environment and there is time to give environmental information, that is part of your job as a human guide too. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example of that.
Yeah, you'll hold that example, okay? Because we're gonna go in depth about that, like what information does someone need and want? And again, we wanna make sure we're not oppressing anyone, so I always teach everyone, you must have like a pre-conference dialogue with someone that you're providing guidance services with. You don't just walk in and go, okay, I'm here to help, and then just start guiding someone. That's rude. You need to introduce yourself. You need to actually get to know the person. If you're providing services, it is not rude to ask about visual diagnoses. It really isn't. It might make the person uncomfortable, but they get to decide what they're going to answer and what they're not going to answer too. So, and you let them know that in the beginning of the dialogue, like, hey, I'm Christine. I'm here to provide guiding services. Do you mind if I ask some questions? If any of these questions make you uncomfortable, feel free to not answer them. No judgment. But, you know, would you mind telling me, like, what can you see in the room? What can't you see in the room? Giving me some information so I know that, oh, you're completely blind on your right side. Well, then maybe when I'm providing guiding services, I need to be on the lookout for the right side a little bit more and be a little bit more careful on your right side to make sure you don't bump into things.
And just.
Yeah.
Kevin, just be open. I've never done this before. If that's good, tell them.
Yeah.
Hey, I've never done this before. Sometimes it's hard too, because something impromptu will happen. All of a sudden, everybody's moving on down the trail, and a visually impaired person is sort of like standing there. Some good person sees them and says, well, let me help them, whoever was with them, maybe is busy, maybe they went to the restroom or something. Let me help them, and it's a rush situation, so you may not have time for that pre-conference. You just have to do the best that you can.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, I've never done this before, tell me what you need and what you don't want me to do, and I'll help you get to the next building or whatever it is.
Yes.
So I, it's. Yeah. So I also noticed that there are different needs, like, I have this one friend, and she's done this for a while, but I can't get through. But anyway, she is like, here's my arm, and I'm like, all you have to do is nudge me with that arm, and I know. And the other one that gets me is when, you know, they're telling me about every turn. I don't need to hear verbally about every turn, I'll follow your body language.
Yeah.
So.
Some people are
there's-
nervous. You said she's been doing it for a long time.
She has.
Okay.
Well, that, you don't even have to tell me, you just stop.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Well,
go
it
over
is.
that, the like visual, the environmental information and also the physical clues of when we're moving around.
Okie dokie, orientation and mobility time. So, orientation and mobility, also called O&M, because who has time to say orientation and mobility O&M? Orientation is where you are in space. Do I know that I am in my kitchen? Do I know that straight in front of me is my refrigerator? Or do I have to walk all four corners of my kitchen to locate the refrigerator? Do I know I just walked in my own front door? Or am I pretty sure this is my house, but I don't know if it's the front door or the side door? Important. I have had people who wandered into other people's apartments. So, because they thought they were they knew they were in their hallway and they're like, well, this door's unlocked, it's gotta be mine. And it was not. And their wife found them sitting in their front station. Orientation, where are you in space? Mobility, how do you get around? So are you able to walk? Do you use a walker? Do you use a wheelchair? We're going far away. How do we get from here to the movie theater or from here to the community center? Do we take a bus or other paratransit? Do we take our husband's car because he is our chauffeur? Do we take, how do we get from point A to point B? Not only should we know where we are, but we should have an idea of how we can get around safely and efficiently as independently as possible. Everybody's independent, as independently as possible, looks different. Some people's independently as possible is with a buddy. Some people's independently as possible is their husband comes home from work and they get a text from their wife saying, hey, I'm at the grocery store, I'll be home later. Everybody's independent is different.
And just to add more emphasis, as like human guides, we don't take away from the orientation part. We need to be really cognizant of that and aware of the fact that when we're providing guiding services, the person that we're providing guiding services for should know where they are in space also. You shouldn't just be dragging someone around. And that's where things get weird, because especially I've noticed with spouses and family members, they will drag you around because they're just so comfortable with you. But you should have the right to know where you are in space at all times.
And sighted people, we don't think about the fact that even though we didn't touch a door, we just walked through the doorway from our living room into the dining room. We're sighted, we see that we're in our dining room. But if someone's being human guided, they may not realize they crossed from one room into the next. If there is no environmental information that tells them that. If there's not a rug, if there's not, oh, I smell dinner, oh. So it's important that we provide that information explicitly, particularly when it's asked for. If, like Neil said, there's too much information, they're more than welcome to say, hey, I don't need to know every time we walk through a door. Because we're getting ready to go through 7 doors, I do not need a running commentary of that. Tell me when we get to the waiting room of the doctor's office. And tell me when we get to the exam room. I don't need to know we're passing the first door. We're passing a second door. Oh, there's a door already. I hear there's someone in the room door left now.
Mhm.
They might not care about that information, but again, that's something you can have a conversation about before or during. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ilana.
Hi, Yolanda.
I just wanted to say that that kind of balance is very similar in audio description as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to give too much information. And in that case, you're taking away the power of imagination of somebody. At the same time, you want to give enough. So you're giving a sense of what that visual information is.
Correct. And different people's different preferences,
Mhm.
you may be able to have that conversation of, I wanna know every door we pass. All right, yes, sir, let's go. We'll talk about every door we pass. And then some people may say, I wanna know when we're in the hallway, I wanna know when we get there, and that's it. That is a running conversation you can have every time you encounter someone. Because different people may be more tired one day, maybe more emotional. They may have we all have different levels that we're able to handle and manage. That maybe it's, hey, my brain's really full. So you could just help me get from point A to point B, let me know when we get there.
Mhm.
So that is perfectly good running conversation that you can have between yourself and your human guide or as a human guide with the person that you are guiding. Okay, human guide, what is it? It is when we use a person to guide another person. Human guide is different than dog guide because if there is a guide dog, then there's a dog involved. There you go. That's the difference.
No, so when a guide dog is involved, the dog doesn't actually guide. Just so you guys are aware. I don't know how many of you have had experience with guide dogs, but like human guide, humans actually make decisions of where we're turning right or left, going around obstacles. The guide dog doesn't make the decision if they're turning right or left or crossing the street. They are given instruction.
That is a common misconception. A lot of people think the dog has learned
Yes.
where my doctor's office is.
I have to. My favorite story of the guide dog, I'll make it quick because we are running out of time, but my favorite story is I'm providing O&M services to one of my good friends. She has a guide dog named Nora. Nora is gorgeous. Nora is wonderful. I love Nora. Nora is a very good girl and very, very smart. And we are walking down Connecticut Avenue in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of foot traffic. And our assignment that day is for her to ask a stranger for directions. Okay? Because strangers aren't good at giving directions. So she's using specific language to get the information she needs from this stranger. Very pointed questions. So I'm watching from a distance, hovering a little bit. And she goes to a stranger and asks for directions. And the stranger, no joke, I'm not even making this up, leans down and gives the instructions to the guide.
Oh my God.
Oh, my.
I move closer at this point. To tell my friends, hey, by the way, this random stranger here, who I don't know, I'm questioning their intelligence at this point, gave the dog the instruction, and we both had a really good laugh. But that is the first and last time I've ever seen that happen, but it does happen apparently. So that is another myth, right, that people don't understand, that guide dogs are given commands. They do have intelligent resistance, right? I think that's, or intelligent disobedience.
Yes.
So if they see a car coming, they're gonna stop, right? Or they see well, most of the time they'll stop, sometimes they don't, sadly. In other scenarios where, you know, if something dangerous is happening, the guide dog will deviate away from the danger to save itself and its owner. You can't count on it. You cannot count on it. That's the sad part.
So what we do with the human guide can be provided to someone who also has a guide dog. Maybe if they're in an unfamiliar environment, so they don't know, they can't give directions to the dog because they don't know what directions to give the dog. But most of the time, I would say, is with people who are cane users who are not cane users, who need some extra assistance getting from point A to point B. Any person who's using human guide, there is no, this is the way it has to happen every time, or it's wrong and things will spontaneously combust. It is very adaptable to each person, to your environment, to wherever you're entering or exiting. It is very easy to accommodate. You can pick and choose, your person can pick and choose, hey, this is what works for me. I prefer not to be told every time we're gonna take a left turn. Someone else may have that preference. So there are different ways that people prefer to move throughout the world, and that's totally fine. We're gonna teach you how to do it in a safe manner, because there are safe modifications, and there are modifications that are just kind of jerry-rigged on there that are not the smart idea. Our job as a human guide is to help a person move through their environment safely and efficiently, while also giving them agency and empowering them as much as we can.
So now we're actually gonna talk about human guide techniques, and we're gonna start demoing it a little bit before lunch starts. At lunch, we'll all get to decompress. And we're gonna actually set up workstations for various activities where you guys can use some of these techniques as partners together. And Jenna and I will be floating around to each of the workstations to make sure that we can answer questions or help in any way. Okay? So, human guide. It is really awkward to initiate human guide. I'm forgetting your name because you have the Neil, but your name isn't Neil. What's your name? Sandra. Sandra mentions, like, with her friend who's providing guiding services, she's like, here's my arm. Where's my arm? You know, that's gonna lead to some misunderstandings of the squeezing the wrong part of the body type, right? So ideally what we do is we take, as the human guide, I'm the human guide, Jenna is my demo person with the vision loss.
Need a van address.
I maybe do. I take the back of my hand and I tap her hand with it, so that she can feel where my hand is in space and trail up to the back of my elbow. Now, a lot of people like to loop hands or hold hands, especially if they're couples, you know, married couples love to do this. I always get yelled at. I always get yelled at by my clients who have their spouse be the one that finds them, because I'm always like, stop doing it. Do not clasp. Do not hold hands in new environments. The reason I'm saying this is when I fall, I'm gripping as I fall to prepare myself, which means she's coming down with me. So if you're on stairs, you're in an environment that is not safe, you're at New York Penn Station. Do not do that, please. Do it the way we're describing for everyone's safety, including yourself.
The other thing is, we're standing next to each other right now. We're shoulder to shoulder, pretty much. There is no, she has no idea, or I have no idea based on what she's doing, what's coming next.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about how the body language of the person guiding can indicate to the person being guided what's upcoming in the environment. Right now, I could walk into a pole and she walks right on by.
Yep. So we're gonna initiate the tap with the back of the hand. She's gonna come up. I'm the guide. I'm gonna put my hand like vertical. I don't know. This is horizontal. Horizontal.
90 degrees.
I'm gonna have a 90-degree angle at my elbow. And when I'm walking, my elbow is gonna be slightly behind my back, just a little bit, comfortably. Making her step behind me.
Which one's the ball?
Me, I'm blind.
Jenna's the blind one, and I am the guide. So we're gonna walk around the room a little bit so you guys can see how we're walking together. I'm in control, essentially, right? So this is how we're supposed to do it. Now, you can bring your arm down too. Some people, it depends on comfort level. I like to keep mine at an angle, but some people pull it down. It depends on like how big your arms are too. Like I have big arms, you can work out. So the shape of her hand as the person who's holding on being guided is a C shape. I want everyone to do this with me in there.
It was called a Coke
It
can
is a
grip.
C shape.
Yep.
Like as if you're about to grab a can of Coke. Like right like that.
Yep.
Like you're holding coffee in your hand. Do you want to try that, Joanna?
C shape.
See, yeah, perfect, just like that, holding on, gripping onto the back of the hand, the arm.
Yep.
The reason we're doing this is so that the person who has the vision loss or being guided can let go at any time.
I'm uncomfortable, I don't like what's happening. You know, she's trying to take me somewhere that I know is not where I wanna go,
Yeah.
I let go.
Yeah.
I'm not entangled. We talked about falling,
Yeah.
if she trips, I am not necessarily going down with her, because again, I can let go, I can step to the side, I can step back.
So I'm gonna tell a story to really emphasize how important it is to have this kind of stance versus linked arms or holding hands, okay? So at the Helen Keller National Center, there's a case manager that works there. She's been there for 30+ years. She's like the queen of our center. Her name is Val. I'm sure some people know her. So Val was giving someone a tour of the center, and she was using human guide in the process. And the elevator, she pressed the elevator doors, the doors opened, she went to step in and realized that the elevator was not there. She was on the second floor. She was able to maneuver herself because they were doing proper human guide, not linked, to push the deafblind person away from her so that they did not go down the elevator shaft with her.
Wow.
If they had linked arms, if they had their hands gripped, like holding hands, that wouldn't have happened. That person would have gone with her. That's how important this is. So a lot of people who are blind and low vision like to be like, I don't like doing it this way. I guess maybe I'm just paranoid, but I have seen and have experienced enough to be like, do this. I'm the one. Do it. Okay. Thank you.
It also allows her to have feedback from me. If I let go, if I'm unsteady on my feet, I can grab her or I can ask her to stop. If I trip, it gives her body's in front of me, so she can do something with her arm to help me, either guide me down, because if there's no stopping me, then we can at least slow the progression.
Yeah.
The meeting of the floor with the floor.
I also want to show what not to do ever. Okay. I'm putting my hands on her back and I'm pushing her. Don't do that. I see parents do that to their kids all the time. Like, please stop. Like, that's giving them no autonomy to figure out where they're going. It's disheveling, it's disorienting, it's not polite, it's rude. I know there are emergency situations where like there's a hot oven open, you know, and you just need them to turn around and go, like, I get it. But overall, please don't do things like that. Another one is grabbing.
Who
Don't
was
just-
grabbing who? I didn't understand.
Oh, sorry.
So here, Kevin, it's like if I were human guiding you like this
Yeah,
and just
You're
saying,
like,
here we go,
oh.
Kevin, let's go.
yeah, yeah.
And then also, grabbing the wrist.
Yes, just grab it, just like, here,
Grabbing someone and
let's go.
pulling
Come
them.
on, Kevin.
Yeah.
So, some of you guys probably know your center of gravity is located in your stomach or like torso area. And wherever your head is facing, your body wants to go. So if you're looking down at the ground, it's actually shifting your center of gravity and making you more likely to fall. When I'm pulling at Jenna to pull her somewhere, I'm shifting her center of gravity. I'm making it more likely for her to fall on the ground, which is the opposite of what a human guide should be doing. So don't do that.
We're not grab and go.
We're not hot to go. So these are like the cautionary things. We don't want to grab people. When
We
we're
don't make conga lines.
well, I mean, we try not to do conga lines, but sometimes it happens. We'll go over that too. There are like certain things that I always tell everybody, I'm giving people a bunch of tools, like it's a buffet, right? I'm putting all the options in front of you, and then you're picking what you want to eat. You're not being forced to do anything, but there are proper ways of doing this. There's lots of research behind it. This has been going on for generations, and it actually works. But there's always different takes on stuff. And there's lots of people that try to like create new ways of doing things too, and we'll respect those new ways, but these are the traditional ways of providing human guide.
And we'll try and talk to you too about, hey, this is the most standard, the most effective, this C grip on the back of the guide's arm is the most standard, the most effective, the safest, least risky way. There are other ways that might involve more risk that might be worth it to your person in that time.
So from here, Jenna is the person with the low vision. I am the person that's the guide. She's using the C grip on the back of my arm. We're gonna practice turning, okay? So there's the traditional way of turning. The easiest way is to literally just turn with each other, right? So, yeah, we're gonna walk. I'm gonna like move my arm a little bit behind me to let her know we're going around. How'd that feel? Fine, good, right?
Yeah.
So then we're turning again. But it's two people, almost side by side, taking up a lot of room turning. There might be spaces where you can't do that and you have to actually just like turn, right? So in that case, I would let her know, okay, we're gonna turn, stay where you are. I tap her other arm.
None of them.
I know.
So let's do it like that.
So here, we're gonna hold on. So I will then tap her other arm with the back of my hand to let her know to grab onto this arm instead, and then we're turning.
So free hand to free hand.
Yeah, and we'll practice this because I know like verbally that doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make sense written down either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Giving you guys a nice overview before lunch starts. I know that some of the stuff is not really, the descriptions aren't always like low vision blind friendly because they're meant to be one-on-one practiced together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do apologize about that, but we're gonna do a lot of hands-on. Get real comfortable, guys. I also am probably gonna ask if you are used to having the person next to you guide you, I might try to split you up if you're comfortable with it. Because I want you to experience what it's like to be guided by someone who don't know. This is a safe space. But that's all up to you and comfort level. So that's, yes.
Alana,
Yeah.
Could you show me the best technique for guiding somebody, for example, on a very narrow trail?
Yes. So here for narrow,
That way.
yeah. Well, we'll walk around all the way so everyone can kind of see. But ideally what you want to do is we're in the human guide stance where I have Jenna on my right side and she's using her left hand to hold onto the back of my arm using that C shape that we discussed. I'm then going to make a fist with my right hand, which is the arm that she's holding onto, and bring it to my tailbone. She's going to adjust and bring her hand down to my wrist where the fist is.
From here down.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah, so moving from here down.
And that's actually naturally aligning her behind me.
So now we are the width of one person
Yes.
instead of 1.5.
Some people don't ideally, if someone is blind or low vision, they should be working with an orientation and mobility specialist to learn these techniques beforehand. Some O&Ms skip it because they don't have enough time. Besby, not to me, Besby, I love Besby. Well, no. I love this. You have a very good system out here. But Besby or MCB or whoever in whatever state, maybe the VR counselor says you only have 20 hours to give. And they'll skip over some foundational skills. This happens to one of them sometimes. And that's sad. Because it's needed. So here we're going from the back of the arm with the C shape. I'm making a fist as the guide, bringing it behind my tailbone. And then she's stepping over.
Are you telling her this?
I was gonna say,
Ideally, they should know this already, but you can tell the person. If you feel like the person isn't stepping over and looks confused, let them know. Like, hey, step, feel where my shoulders are with your hand. This is where you should go. Now, a lot of people like to hold on to people's shoulders, right? When they're being guided. No, just one, right? Why would that be a problem when we're going through a narrow space? Yeah, but also like I put my hand behind my tailbone, they don't feel it. They
Right,
don't know that I'm adjusting.
Yeah.
So that's a problem too. If there's super height differences, yes, you're gonna be holding on to someone's shoulder.
My cousin is 6'8". if he tried to hold on to my elbow, he would be bent in half. This is a good accommodation for someone real tall with someone who is petite.
Yeah. So, but this also throws off the center of gravity too, because as I'm walking and my cantons changes and my gait is changing, she feels it. Because my shoulder's going back and forth. So you have to be careful about that also. So for narrow space, let's show them narrow space. Narrow space, it's kind of like a contour line a little bit. My arm is behind. Also, I tell everybody, move your environment. If there's a chair in the way, kick it out of the way.
If someone's in the chair,
Don't do that.
Let's get further.
So after lunch, we'll go over doors, how to navigate doors as a team too, which is very complicated. So what I'm gonna have is, there's how many of us? 26?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
No, 23?
23, 24, 25, 26.
So.
I didn't even number, right?
No, I mean, we'll go in small clusters together. We'll break up into, I think, 4 groups. I'll have a water pouring station, I'll have the restaurant, an airplane station. You'll see. And then we're also gonna do guiding in and out of doors and small hallways too. So me and her need to fight over who's gonna do the airplane station and who's gonna do the the guiding around station. I do ask that each group try to stay as quiet as possible when we're in the library out of respect. But they are aware that we will be navigating around the library together. And I guess like I'm gonna give you guys a break because we've been talking for like 2 hours. So
We have, I think, 10 minutes.
yeah, 10 minutes. Does anyone have any questions?
10
Concerns?
minutes until lunch, not 10 minutes until we start
Yeah,
activities.
yeah. Come on, Kevin, what do you need?
I'll have you show me the trail demo that just did. But one thing I've noticed, because I like being outdoors and I like trails and stuff, whenever I've been with anybody on the trail, obviously I'm following them, I can't think of a case where it's been other than that. But what I have found is just following them behind, just like 2 guys might ordinarily walk down a narrow trail. But you're 100% relying on the verbal
Yes,
communication
yes.
and taking it easy and slow.
Yep.
And,
Are you
Well-
changing out your cane tip at all? Using like the,
oh yeah, I'd be using my cane in my case.
what kind of tip are you using?
Mushroom,
Okay, so you're not changing your tip out when you're going on
I
trails?
haven't, maybe I'd think about that.
Yeah, maybe we need to talk about that.
Yeah. But I guess my main point that I wanted to make was the verbal communication.
Oh, yeah.
What I rely on.
And you guys will notice that that's really important, but so is touch too in the human guide
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
So there are times where like, I don't know, I like to always talk about like navigating people around Penn Station when I was younger. You know, you don't have time to react sometimes too. So it is you become very in sync with the person based off of touch and movement too.
True.
And the more you guide someone, the more you're able to predict what's going to happen. And more comfortable you are.
Yes, Christine, could you explain also, and I don't know if anybody else did, about getting a blind person into a car? It's all different from opening a door.
Okay, so Wendy asked me to explain getting in and out of the car. It's kind of hard to explain stuff because you're not doing it. So, number one, when someone is blind, they should have control over getting in and out of the car themselves. So usually what I do when working with someone who's blind or low vision or deafblind is I will guide their hand to the car door handle. They will open the door themselves and they will actually take their hand and put it on the top of the door and maybe the top of the car to know the height of the car so they don't bang their head. If I'm shoving someone into a car, they're gonna bang their head.
Yeah.
So it's letting them measure where everything is and then taking their hand and putting it on the seat itself to know where the seat is too. Very similar to sitting at a table. where I just guide your hands to the back of the chair and I let you know where the table is, the distance between the two. Then the person I'm guiding handles everything themselves.
Helen Keller National Center, 44 Lafayette Road, P.O. Box 1268, Northampton, New Hampshire, 03862. Phone number 516-242-0357. www.helenkeller.org. Christine Telford, Regional Representative. Jenna Rydl, Orientation and Mobility Instructor. SECT Community Center of the Blind. Renee Labonte, Executive Director. Tammy Paradis, Office Manager. Executive Board. Scott Skinner, President. Kevin Harkins, Vice President. Tammy Paradis, Secretary. Marian Olette, Treasurer. Lynn McGee, Past President. Email info@centeroftheblind.org. Website www.centeroftheblind.org. Music: Concertos for Four Violins No. 2 by Georg Philipp Thielemann.